had done my first 2 movies for Stanley Kramer. I had never done television. And I was thinking I'd like to try my hand at it. One night, my wife and I were going into a club in L.A. called Pips. And coming out of the club was Aaron Spelling and his wife Candy. Now, Aaron was a very successful producer of television at the time. And we stood there talking briefly. And my wife was pregnant at the time, so they were making a big fuss over her belly. It was a nice conversation. And then I took a chance. I said, Aaron, you've had all these hit shows, and you have never had a hit song or theme. Why don't you think about giving me a chance on one of your shows, and I'll give you a hit. Now, nobody can promise anyone a hit, but I was kidding on the square, just throwing it out there. And he said, well, Barry, let me give it some thought. Well, that was that. About a month and a half, 2 months later, I get a call at home. It's Aaron's office. Aaron gets on the phone. He says, Barry, I'm going to give you that chance. I got a new show going on mid-season. Come down to 20th. Take a look at it. I want a hit. I said, Aaron, you got it. I was so excited. So I was living in Santa Barbara, of course, at the time. So I drove into L.A., all excited, went to the screening room, sat there. The lights go down, on comes the film, and my goodness, it's a big truck swaying through the streets, and it pulls up, and the doors burst open, and all these SWAT guys come running out of the back of the truck. I said, of all the things he gives me, he could have given me a girl, 2 girls, a guy and a girl, detectives. I have a SWAT team. Now, SWAT teams were not popular at the time. It was right after the riots. And they were kind of considered like Nazi, you know. And I said, oh my goodness, I just was really disappointed because how do you write a hit about a SWAT team? Anyway, I saw the movie. They were deploying, shooting. When it was all over, I went up to Aaron's office. I said, oh, it looks great, Aaron. He said, well, good, Barry. Go out there and get me that hit. I said, well, I'll sure try, Aaron. Anyway, I went back to Santa Barbara, and I spent a week trying to write a hit about a SWAT team. And I finally gave up. I said, you know something? You can't write a hit about a SWAT team. So I said, the next best thing is I am going to give him the most exciting main title for that show. And in the process, he'll forget about it being a hit or not. So here's where my chops coming from rock and roll and contemporary music worked for me. At the time, television themes were very kind of brassy and big band, jazzy. I brought in a contemporary approach here, you know, with a wah-wah guitar and some rockin' drums and guitars. And I thought I came up with something pretty exciting for the opening title for SWAT. Now, it heavily relied on an interesting rhythm, and that takes some doing, as I'm sure all of you know who've been out there in the world of rock and roll. So I called Aaron's music coordinator, a guy called Rocky. I said, Rocky, I'm cutting a very contemporary main title. Is there any chance that I could just have a session with the rhythm only? He said, Barry, this is television. No, you can't have a session with a rhythm only. I said, but I really need it. I need some time with the rhythm section. It's nothing you can write. You've just got to get in the studio and make it happen. So he said, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you the first hour with the rhythm, and then the rest of the orchestra will come in. So I said, well, I'll take whatever I can get. So I showed up at this new studio, new engineer, all these people from 20th Century Fox in the booth, and I'm out there in the studio trying to get this rhythm track to work. Well, I wasn't having a lot of luck. It was one of those mornings we just couldn't get it together. And out comes Rocky. Well, Barry, the hour is up. I've got 25 musicians in the coffee room there, on the clock. Get it down on tape. I said, Rocky, please, I just need a little more time. I don't have anything to get down on tape. It's not happening. He said, Barry, I don't care whether it's happening or not. Get it down on tape. And I looked at him and I said, Rocky, I can't do that. He said, what? I said, I can't do that. He said, I'm telling you to do it and you're saying you're not going to do it. I said, that's right. He said, well, son, this session is yours. The responsibility is yours. You understand that? You can talk to Mr. Spelling about it. I said, I don't like it, but I understand it. And he stomped off and went back to the control room. Well, I'm so upset. I mean, this is my first television show. All I want to do is please everybody. But it wasn't happening. I just couldn't put it to tape. So, panicked, I started working with the musicians. And about 30 more minutes went by, maybe 40, I don't know. Well, we finally got it. We locked it. Now, I said, okay. I went into the studio. It was deadly in that control room. Nobody was talking to me. Everybody was pissed at me. And I went down with the engineer and we got the track down. And now, sarcastically, he says, now can I have the orchestra come in? I said, yes. And the orchestra came in the studio. Well, the way you do music for television, you only get one pass, maybe two at the most. And it's on 3-stripe. So there's no 24-track. The main title was done on 24-track. But all the cues are done on 3-stripe. So we went right forward with that score and start knocking down the dramatic cues for the show. 1 or 2 takes at a time, which was, in my state, difficult because I'm upset about what happened in the first place, and the clock is running and we're going to go into terrible overtime. Anyway, during a 10-minute break, I hear Rocky say to the engineer, Ami, give me a rough mix from the 24-track of the main title theme. And I hear this. I mean, everything that I've worked so hard on 24 tracks, and he just asked him in a 10-minute break to give him a rough mix off a 24-track. I said, excuse me, Rocky, did I hear you say you want him to do a rough mix off the 24-track? Why? He said, to get it to Mr. Spelling. I said, Rocky, I worked on this thing for 4 weeks. When Mr. Spelling hears my theme, I want it to be right. He's going to hear a rough mix off a 24-track. Well, that's what he wants? Are you going to say no to Mr. Spelling? I said, yeah, I guess so. I guess I'm going to have to say no to Mr. Spelling, because when he hears this, I want it to be what I had envisioned it to be. He looked at me and said, son, trust me, you've done your first and last television show for Spelling Productions, Okay, now if I thought I was in trouble before, I'm in big trouble now. Anyway, when I got finished with the score, everyone stood up without a word and left. And I was sitting there with the engineer, and I, quite frankly, was beat up. I was depressed. I figured I'd failed. I wasn't sure if anything came out that good. I was in a terrible state of mind. Anyway, we mixed the main title, and I got it the way I wanted it, the main and end title, and then I left. I went to my place in L.A., and I called my wife. I said, hi, and she says, well, how did it go? How did it go there? I said, how did it go? Let me tell you something. I'm sitting here with a double vodka. I said, and I am so tense, I don't even know how to speak. And I told her this whole story. So she said, well, did it come out good? I said, you know something, baby? I don't know at this stage. I'm so stressed, I don't even know if it came out great. Anyway, the next day, I was at AIP, which is a small independent film company. I was a consultant there. And I was waiting for a call, and nothing came. No word from Spelling. And that was not a good sign. So in the afternoon, the secretary came in and said, "Oh, Len Goldberg is on the phone for you." Now, Len Goldberg was Aaron's partner. And sometimes Aaron let Len do the dirty work, if you know what I mean. And that was not necessarily a good sign that Len was calling me rather than Aaron. So I got on the phone and said, "Hi, Len." He said, "Barry, that theme is great. Aaron is dancing around the office. He loves it. It's fantastic. We're all so happy with it. What a great theme." Well, I was so excited. He says, "Now, you went over budget, way over budget. But in this particular case, it was worth it. But you can't do that anymore. Now, this is television. We got to stay within the budget. But I'm going to forgive you this time." I said, "Okay, Len, and I'll be there on budget from here on out. But thank you." Now, that theme not only worked for the television show, it went to #1 in the nation. It was #1 on the pop charts and #1 on the R&B charts. It was a giant hit about a SWAT team. So, I don't know. Either I was born under a lucky star or somebody up there likes me, but that's how SWAT came to be.